Perfection. That which includes every conceivable and inconceivable and every possible and seemingly impossible good thing in itself, and excludes any bad thing. Doesn't appear to be real. We see mass shootings, wars, earthquakes, hurricanes, tragedies, disease, tragic accidents. We see birth defects. We see injustice. We see poverty, hunger, loneliness, anger, ignorance, oppression, hatred, selfish greed, addiction, and death. Perfection is supposed to be flawless. What happened? If you've been devastated by the loss of a child, the loss of a loved one, I can't console you by telling you it isn't real. It's very real. So we can conclude together that there's no such thing as perfection. Let's just end the course right here. Or we could consider the other side of the matter. If there's no ignorance, how can there be learning? If there's no disease, how can there be healing? If there's no death and separation, how can that wonderful experience of reuniting with those we love in a resurrection take place? Can there be any beauty in forgiveness if there's no sin to forgive? Will people bond together to rescue complete strangers in an emergency if there's no disaster or crisis? Will the mother of a disabled child become a superhero in love and service if her child lacks special needs? So for every bad thing, there does seem to be a number of unique good things that could possibly become part of reality and wouldn't be a part of reality if those bad things hadn't happened. The existence of evil things prompts the existence of good things in many, many cases, if not all of them. Imagine a flawless universe in which not one single bad thing ever occurred. How could there be forgiveness and healing in such a universe? How can every conceivable good thing exist if healing and forgiveness don't exist? The impossibility of every good thing existing, yet excluding any bad thing, is problematic for perfection. Okay, I'll admit that. But it's also intrinsic to perfection to include impossibly good things in itself. Every conceivable and inconceivable, every possible and seemingly impossible good thing. And the coexistence of evil and perfection is just one seemingly impossible thing. Perfection requires certain bad stuff for certain types of good things to exist. We then would expect, if perfection existed, for perfection to make that evil real, but also unreal. Real for prompting real virtue. Unreal because perfection is flawless. How can that be? There are many possible explanations. What, for instance, if bad stuff is just imaginary? What if it's just part of a computer program you're part of, and it's really just a simulation that prompts you to do good things? What if the evil only appears to exist through the illusion of multidimensionality? What if the good stuff exists in one universe while the bad stuff exists in another, which exists only in a future an infinite amount of time and space away? Or, as many suppose, what if there's no such thing as good or evil? There are many such theories, and we're going to compare them all in part 2. But if there's no such thing as perfection, what's the point of resolving the problem? Well, I have some very good news for you. I'm convinced that perfection does exist. So, in our next lesson, I'm going to provide a logical case for the existence of perfection. We can compare solutions for the problem of evil in part 2. Once it's first been established that perfection really exists, okay? Everything else in Pamalogy hinges on that. So let's get right to it. Are you ready for the logical case for the existence of perfection? Let's move on to part 1, lesson 3.